Let's talk about Donald Trump. He's announced a pause on migration from third world countries following last week's devastating attack where an Afghan national who entered the US under the Biden administration as part of Biden's Operation Allies Welcome program during its disastrous withdrawal of Afghanistan. That person is accused of shooting two National Guard troops. Sadly, one has died. Now, it has raised fresh concerns about the vetting process under Biden, where tens of thousands of people from Afghanistan entered the US, and there are concerns that the vetting process was flawed. Can I get your thoughts around that?
Well, first of all, Gabriella, yeah, okay, these people came from Afghanistan and some of them were known to us, including this guy, this murderer is somebody who actually did work with our troops. I would say more to the point, Joe Biden invited 10 million or more illegal aliens across the southern border. They were not vetted at all. We have no idea who those 10 million people were. And we think a number of them were terrorists, a number were drug dealers, and so on. So this whole business of unrestricted open borders, mass immigration has been a total disaster. And Donald Trump is absolutely correct to want to put the brakes on this third world immigration indefinitely, and I hope until the end of his term.
Plenty of security concerns. You know, President Trump was speaking about this at the time. He was speaking about it in 2021. And anyway, what happened last week was a horrific tragedy. Donald Trump's also announced that he's cancelling executive orders signed using Joe Biden's autopen. He posted on Truth Social any document signed by Sleepy Joe Biden with the autopen, which was approximately 92% of them, is hereby terminated and of no further force or effect. I'm hereby cancelling all executive orders and anything else that was not directly signed by crooked Joe Biden because the people who operated the autopen did so illegally. Now, there's a bit of a dispute around whether Trump can actually do this. Legal analysts have disputed the validity of Trump's argument, arguing that the autopen signatures are valid. But Republicans argue that the Biden autopen presidency is one of the biggest political scandals in history. John, can I get your assessment?
Well, the autopen scandal, there's no question about the fact that Joe Biden, I think for the entire 4 years of his presidential term, really had very little idea what was going on. It was just being propped up by the people around him. You saw it on one video after another. He was not all there.
No.
I think that was a huge scandal. The autopens are just one part of it. But I would make a much more fundamental point, Gabriella, and that is that Donald Trump can revoke Joe Biden's executive orders at will, not just the ones with the auto pen. He already has revoked a number of Biden's executive orders. He can revoke all of them. One president can't bind the next president with an executive order. The thing that he can't undo is the pardons that Joe Biden gave. Joe Biden pardoned his family, pardoned Anthony Fauci, pardoned a number of people. The pardons, Trump can't do anything about. But the other executive orders, whether they were signed with an auto pen or not, Trump has the power to simply revoke them.
And the amount of pardons, I mean, absolutely extraordinary under Joe Biden. Democratic Senator Mark Kelly has doubled down on his call for military members to defy unlawful orders from US President Donald Trump. But he's been pressed to name a single illegal order that President Trump has given, and he hasn't been able to name one.
Asked you about the substance of this video and your message in it. What specific orders do you believe President Trump made that you consider unlawful?
Well, so this is looking forward, but let me give you a pass, an outline of things that he has said. In 2016, he said that the U.S. military will follow his illegal orders. He said something on a debate stage and was reminded that would be illegal, and he said the military will not refuse his orders, regardless of whether they're legal or not. He also talked about shooting protesters in the legs. How un-American, how unconstitutional is that? Fortunately, there was a Secretary of Defense that has stopped this. He's also talked about sending troops into U.S. cities to use those cities and people for training.
John, if he can't name an illegal order, why did he take part in this video encouraging military members to defy illegal orders?
Gabrielle, this is a real scandal. So 6 elected Democrats, including Senator Mark Kelly, put out this video in which their ad clearly implied that President Trump is issuing one illegal order after another and is a threat to our Constitution, and that military personnel should disobey orders that they're getting down the chain of command. And the truth is that Trump has not issued a single illegal order. Mark Kelly couldn't name one. Others who participated in that Democratic Party ad, they couldn't name one. There aren't any. And so Mark Kelly, I think, could be in some trouble here. He's a retired military officer. There's an investigation going on right now in the Defense Department as to whether Kelly should be recalled to active duty and then court-martialed, which could happen. And personally, I'd like to see it happen.
Finally, US and Ukrainian officials have sat down in Florida to discuss outlines of a peace deal with Russia. Steve Witkoff is expected to meet with Russian counterparts later this week. John, what's your assessment? Are we getting some progress here?
It's very hard to tell. We don't know what's being said behind closed doors. I would say this. I think the real obstacle here is that the Russians have been very obstinate. I mean, as far as we can tell, they really haven't backed off on any of their demands. One of the things they want is they want to get Ukrainian territory that they have not been able to occupy militarily. And that's really pretty outrageous. You know, when there's a war fought and there's a ceasefire, typically what happens is that the lines are going to be drawn basically where the armies are, like what happened at the end of World War II. And the Russians have been actually holding out to get more and more Ukrainian territory than they have been able to take militarily. That seems to be a non-starter from the Ukrainian point of view. So I think what we really don't know is whether the Russians are willing to make a deal, or are they simply going to stick with the really unreasonable demands that they have been making all along?
John Hinderaker, President of the Center of the American Experiment, thank you so much for joining us on Power Hour. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.